Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to today's HR Huddle. And Samantha, thank you for being with me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Great to see you. And we are here. We know it's one day before the tax extension deadline. You got today to finish up, and then tomorrow, hopefully, everybody can take a breather. And as we were looking at the week, one of the things that we declared last year was the Friday after the extension deadline, National Fire Some Clients Day. So that happens to be this Friday, October 20th. And we also did it in the spring because we really believe that this idea of culling clients and pruning clients should be a biannual strategic initiative within your firm. And that's really what we hope, to have happen. Last year, there was a lot of pressure, and there still is, with capacity. And as we were approaching, the spring busy season, the end of the year planning and spring busy season, we were like, one of the strategies has got to be, we really need to look hard at our client base and, create some capacity, for our team members, partner on down. And in addition to, there's just some clients that are no longer a fit. They're not nice. They're high risk. Maybe we do them one off. There's just could be lots of reasons. A partner's transitioning, and it's just not the client base that we're continuing. And so we just really have to evaluate that and take a look and say, what clients should we just be pruning, and do that on a regular basis, have it be a team effort, and identify how we can prune that tree so we can grow healthier. We want to grow. And we truly believe, and we've heard from all the clients that have done this and really rallied with us this past year, and have taken this on, have come back to us and said, "Oh my gosh! Not only did it create the capacity that we needed, but we're able to better serve our clients. We're able to go and prospect, those target clients that we really want to bring in, but we're afraid, how do we serve them? Or we bring them in and our team freaks out because they're like, how are we going to serve them?" And we grew. And so that's what we've been hearing. And so we just thought we'd talk a few minutes about some different strategies and approaches and maybe some objections. But before we get into all that, Samantha, is there anything you want to add, like big picture and why, as we talk about having pruning your clients be a strategic initiative?
Yeah, I think you hit on so many of the different branches. So I'm going to keep on that pruning a little analogy there.
Very
Pun
nice.
intended. Uh, but I think, to your point of it's not just a fall thing, once all the extensions are done or whatnot. But just like when in your garden, right? There are clients or there are plants that you're going to prune in the spring, and there are going to be ones that you do in the fall. And one of the elements with it is you just got to think about the timing, right? So this is not a once a year kind of activity. And think about it with the health of your organization and the different services that you offer and the different types of clients, and that this is something that you have at least twice a year where you really take that hard look and you analyze, what do we need to do for that overall health? And the pruning, though, it's always questionable, right? In the sense that you get nervous because it's a known entity, it's flowering, it's producing something. But yet we know that pruning is important because it makes the plant healthier and it makes it produce even more. And it's so true about our organizations. I mean, the analogy with it is spot on. And so I just wanted to really reinforce that you had used that language, because I think if we really stick with that mindset of, hey, yes, we do have these clients, and yes, this is known revenue that's coming in, it still does not mean that it's for the overall best health of the organization, and that's going to keep us going. And so I wanted to really reiterate that point that you were making.
Yeah. Well, and to that, I'll just follow up, with another thought, around this being a strategic initiative. We also know we're watching the economy,
Mhm.
and we're trying to figure out what's the market going to do. We're trying to, figure out what's going on overseas. And there's just lots of things that we're trying to pay attention to. So you could say, Tamera and Samantha, is that really a good time right now to be doing this? And we assert we should be doing it all the time, no matter what.
Mhm.
Now, we might be a little bit riskier last year than we were this year. That's fine. But to not do it is going to hold you back. And it's going to kind of hang those spindlies. It is fall. I look out, I look at my lilac bushes, I look at my apple trees, and I'm like, they definitely need some pruning, right? And so you can start to see the things that like they just don't quite belong. And it
Mhm.
does open it up for that healthier growth.
Mhm.
And your clients do have needs that you're probably not getting to. You're afraid to call them out of cycle or look up and ask them any questions because it's like, I'm not sure where I'm going to fit that in. Or be even more strategic and say, how can my broader firm and my broader network help them? It just frees you up to do things like that.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we have to watch the economy. Yes, we have to pay attention to the market. We have to be smart about it. But, we would assert you're going to find growth. It will free you up for these, other services and to be able to do more with your existing clients in addition to bringing on those new clients. So,
Right. Right. I think the other piece that hits you, if you're starting to have that concern, is how many firms and practitioners that we talk to that have to tell existing clients no,
mhm,
or you're trying to squeeze in those extra services that really your top clients are looking for. And then you're feeling it. You're feeling that we're not giving them the service that they deserve or that we could if we had the capacity. And so when that mindset starts creeping in there too of saying, well, the economy is questionable and should we really let those go? I would say make sure that you're really looking at what are the no's you're having to say or what are the services that if you ask the team, they're saying, I know I'm not giving good service. If I had to rate myself, I'd say maybe I'm doing it giving C-level work here. I'm getting done. I'm maybe
right,
passing muster, but is this the wow factor that's really going to get this client talking about us and sending us more referrals like them, right? Like those top clients that we really want. And so I would say that's another question to reflect on because too often we get focused on what's the revenue, what's the financials of the firm say, and there's opportunity that you're probably losing just because we haven't done this exercise within the firm already.
right. And that's one place to look is, if you analyze your clients, 80% of the revenue often comes from that 20%, the top 20% of your clients that, Pareto's 80-20 rule, applies. And so just looking at it from that perspective. But another, perspective is to say, we've been reimagining ourselves. We've been doing a
Mhm.
lot of vision work with clients, a lot of strategic retreats with clients. And, we know that leaders are trying to figure out where do we want to head 5 years from now? And what is our next gen talent? What kind of firm do they want to lead? And what do our next gen clients want? And so
Exactly.
when you put all that together, there are some that just are not a strategic fit anymore. And we have to figure
Mhm.
out how do we transition them. And some are easy, some it's like no brainer. These are easy. Some probably over time. Some might be like when that retiring partner, that is the ideal time, by the way, to look at transitioning clients. There's
Mhm.
often a portion of those clients that should sunset with the partner, and we take care of them. We help them transition. We, do whatever we need to do, and then figure out what to do with those other clients. Otherwise, we fill up our next gen talent with clients that aren't an ideal fit, and then we go tell them to go build their own book of business and develop business. And we've seen it in our leadership programs, just the frustration. And so, and that's where HR comes in. So I want to circle it back since this is HR Huddle. You might be listening to this going, okay, I get all this. But as an HR professional or the HR partner, how do I influence this? It is a talent strategy.
Mhm.
We have to look really hard at who do we want to serve in the market? How do we position our team members and develop our team members and assign them to clients, based on who we want to position them, for, plus just creating that capacity and the, right level of work, for our team members. It's very much, an HR, part of the HR strategy. It's a leadership strategy. We need lots of input from lots of different leaders within the firm, but HR should be part of it. And sometimes we could think that's not an HR initiative, but it directly affects you and your team members and your capacity. You're planning on your development of them. The path to partner is completely impacted by this conversation. So there's lots of ways that this, idea of being really strategic about our ideal clients and then pruning those that are not a fit on a regular basis impacts our, our team and talent development.
Well, and to that point too, there's risk if we don't have core competencies in an area. If we do one type of audit, then how much of a core competency do we really have? And so as the risk is growing and as there's more audits that are happening of firms and clients, that's something to really be cognizant of and taking a look at what are the core competencies, what are the skill sets that we're building up in the team, and does that align with the clients that we have? Or in that conversation with the leaders that are identifying what are the target clients that we want, then how do we make sure that we have the bench strength of our team that's going to support that? And part of that discussion needs to be, are they so mired down in other work that they don't have capacity to get upskilled to be able to be ready to participate in some of these other services? Because that happens an awful lot as firms are advancing into some of these higher value, higher level services. And what I mean by that is really beyond the transactional compliance, where it takes so much more of the experience of the professional to be able to deliver on the service. The problem is that we have scalability issues because then we don't have enough people that have the knowledge, have the skill set, and we start getting this greater divide between those skill sets. Well, in many situations, the people down here at the lower level are carrying so much of that load of that transactional or compliance work. They don't have time to go up and shadow and see and witness and learn so that they can start doing those higher levels too. And then we keep getting this divide in what the knowledge level is in the firm, which significantly impacts then the types of clients that the firm can serve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And while we're talking about it from like an HR strategy, and also it's like one of the objections we often hear. So we're going to kind of address some objections, you might hear. And we've got an objections document and a tool set that Caroline can provide in the link. But one of them that we hear is, I don't want it to impact my compensation. Yeah. So whether I'm a partner and I don't want it to impact my compensation, or I'm a, manager or a senior manager and I, billable hours, first of all, although we don't think there's a shortage of those, and we should be measuring on some other things besides just billable hours. But even if it's, revenue or new business brought in or, things like that, we want to make sure it's the right business. Mm-hmm. And we don't want to negatively impact anybody or a service line leader or a partner, for reducing or calling those clients that we say are no longer a fit. So we should be proactive and address that. That's like not in it. We were working with a firm on some goal setting, and that's one of the things that we would do is, whether it's, billings, contributed or revenue contributed or revenue under management or whatever that number is. And it excludes that number if we're going to call, or prune some clients. And so we can factor that in. And so we just need to identify that and make sure we're incenting the right behaviors with our bonus and rewards. What we measure is what we're going to get. And so we don't want to incent just any business to bring in. And so we want to also not de-incent people from, calling or pruning the clients when that's one of our, strategic initiatives to be able to do.
Right. Well, and so on the flip side, then you can have, okay, we're starting to do this culling. And so now that means that we can bring in other clients. And there needs to be the accountability of, but are we bringing in the clients that we're really targeting, right? So as opposed to, I've seen this happen in firms too. Okay, great. I gave you my 10% of my list that you can get rid of, but then they just start going and clamoring at every knock that comes on the door. And we don't keep that structure around here's what we want to hire. And where that becomes an HR issue too is that you can have different leaders, and it's not just partners, right? There in some firms it may be managers, directors that are hiring clients as well, that they start then taking up the capacity that was freed up. So they start taking on work that, again, maybe takes this very special talent, and we only have so much of that knowledge and that talent, but they were the first ones that got that knock on the door and just took it, right? As opposed to being very strategic and making sure that there's accountability in the leadership group and there's discussion over which clients are we bringing in, and truly not letting it just be everybody goes and grabs whichever client that they want. So there is that balance to have as well. So there's the discussion of who we call, but there should be the discussion on who we hire and what that's going to require of our team if we bring those clients on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we worry about when we talk about like who's our ideal target client, and I was talking about imagining ourselves and being really clear about what our vision is and who those target clients are, because sometimes there's a concern, well, what kind of reputation are we going to get, out in the market, especially maybe in some smaller communities. But I assert, all partners and all firm leaders worry about that to some degree. And, we have to have our messaging down and we have to be unified in that messaging and where we're headed and what we're committed to. And, part of that is, maybe having a deeper focus in some areas and the capacity to be able to do that. And also to be able to, make sure that our staff has capacity and that they're not, working these peak hours year round. And we want to have, continuity of staff, which means we need to make sure we retain them. And so, we're working on all those strategies. And so there's some positioning that you might be able to help with to message that both internally, get unified on it, and then externally, so we have confidence in what we're doing. And then, have an approach, for, how we handle those clients. And some will do it better than others. And, maybe in some rare cases, we might need to, tag team, maybe Samantha and I, talk to a client together. But it's part of the expectation. And this is where we're headed. This is our strategy. We should be able to fulfill on that as leaders, because it's probably partners, directors, maybe some senior managers, that are actually employing the strategy, right? So, we have to be, super unified about that.
Yeah. And another element that I would say, especially for HR to be aware of that could hurt morale, is that when you do the exercise of starting to identify who are the clients that might need to go, and you collect that information from others, it may not be that everybody on that list, that maybe everybody on the team submitted, here are the clients I don't like, or here are the clients I, really hate working on. And so making sure that the leaders, when they are making that decision on here are the clients that we are going to release, and then here are the clients we're going to keep, for those people who have some of the clients that they really wanted to let go of, there needs to be conversation with those individuals, because you could face a retention problem with them if they feel that their hope just got yanked out from underneath them because they just have a couple clients that are kind of the bane of their existence, right? And so making sure that you coach those leaders on going through this exercise and making sure that we likely know that not everybody is going to be released. Not all those clients will be released, that there is a strategy on how we follow up with the team as well. Because we want to be cognizant of what's going on outside our organization, but we want to be cognizant of what's going on inside and the stories that start swirling if their clients, if they're stuck with those clients they dislike.
You just made me think of the blog that Renee wrote recently about manage your clients. And Caroline, maybe we should pop that in here too, that link. But that's one of the things that I do think can be frustrating is we say, we're not going to fire this client we complain about them, by the way. We triangulate and complain about them. And then we wonder why no staff wants to work on them. And then we don't manage them. And we do that kind of under the guise of, well, it's good client service and we want to take care of the client, and, we can't control what they do, but we can. And we can hold the deadlines. We can be really clear about what the impact is going to be if they don't, provide their stuff. And we should have a no tolerance uh, policy on bad behavior, no cussing at my staff, no mean caps, no raising your voice, no slamming your hands on, the table. If we mess something up, we'll apologize, we'll clean it up. But like, there's got to be a no tolerance, policy on that. And, I've had to manage a client, on that, and just say, you may not talk to anybody else except for me for the future, for the near future. And if we have this happen again to one of my team members, we're going to be done. And she happened to shape up, but we can't be afraid to do that. And, the clients that we want to work with and that value us, that's how they are going to have similar values, by the way. So they're going to want to treat their team members. They want us to treat their team members the same way. So anyway, we have to, be very, very careful about that. But the whole managing the client and the deadlines, and, we are being paid to project manage, and we could do a better job probably setting expectations up front in the timeline, including our stuff, so they can see the impact of it, and then really managing against that. And that will lift your team up, your team morale up, but also teach them to be good project managers and good client managers. So that's, to add on to everything you just said, Samantha. I agree with that. So anything else you want to add, as we look at, hey, as you come out of this busy season, help your leaders really say, okay, what is our, strategic approach this fall to pruning clients? Anything else you'd add, Samantha?
Do it.
Yes.
Don't treat this as, well, that's another idea we can explore. Don't look at that one. Don't look at this one like that.
Yes.
This is something every firm should be doing. And so you could be the champion that really spurs that. But my big thing is do it.
Do it. Agreed. And check out the link. There's all kinds of tools in there. There's a client termination letter and an objections document, and a blog and a recording, and just let us know how we can help. We would love to help you. And we also want to know your successes. You're like, okay, Sam said, just do it. We did it. Here's what, resulted. We'd love to hear that as well. So good luck. Have a great rest of your week. And we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.